I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. On today's episode, I sit down with one of the most genuine and endearing guests, Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is an award-winning documentary filmmaker, cameraman, and editor based in Los Angeles, California. His debut feature documentary, Game Face, was distributed worldwide by Netflix in 2016, screened at more than 50 international film festivals, and won a dozen awards. His second feature doc, That's Wild, was acquired by AMC Network and PBS, screened at over 25 film festivals in 5 continents, and won 5 awards. Jamel and Tim has been selected by 30 plus film festivals and won 8 awards. His latest short doc, Relighting Candles, is a heartwarming portrait of 82-year-old Tim Sullivan, who offers newly sober men and women a chance to rebuild their lives and a second chance at life from his candle shop in West Hollywood. This film, which he co-directed with Zebra Newman and was executive produced by Melissa McCarthy and Ben Falcone, will premiere at Outfest LA 2023 on Sunday, July 16th at 11 a.m. at the Directors Guild of America. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one with the hypnosis tape. Chandler falls asleep to the soothing sounds of a woman's voice to help him quit smoking. Michael and I talk about how we have to listen to the voices of our favorites in order to calm down and be able to sleep. Michael's being David Attenborough and mine being Rachel Green, of course. Please enjoy my conversation with Michael Thomas.
Everything you say will and can be used against you.
Yeah. In this day and age, absolutely.
Hold on, I'm going to close the window because there's ambulances coming by every 5 minutes.
Gotta love LA living.
Get a glass of water, and I'm ready.
Paw Patrol, Paw Patrol. I have do you know Paw Patrol? Have you heard of the show Paw Patrol?
Yeah.
I have that song stuck in my head right now.
What is that song?
Paw Patrol, Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
I just downed coffee, so you're gonna get many levels of me this morning because I was like, you saw me run to my headphones because I was like, oh shit, I gotta put deodorant on because I'm like sweating and like a crackhead right now because I drank my coffee so fast.
Well, the good thing is that I can't smell you, so.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh my gosh, that's from the old apartment to your left. Those movie signs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Countdown. The good old Vineland days.
The Vineland days. We were just talking about that last night with Michael. Wait, first, how do you prefer people say your name?
Michael is fine.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
Okay.
No, I'm positive.
Okay, because I was like, I don't want to say it wrong, but
no, it's fine.
Okay. And it doesn't bother you that people...
No, it really doesn't bother me. No.
Because everything you say can and will be used against you.
I know that part. No, because I also lived for 1 year in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there, everyone called me Miguel. So I just adjust wherever I go. I adapt my name. So.
Okay. And so where are you from originally?
I am originally from Belgium in a small town called Pelt.
What was it like? How long have you lived in LA now? Did you move straight from Belgium to LA?
No. So I grew up in Belgium in a small town. And after high school, I lived for 1 year in Costa Rica through some type of exchange program. Stayed there for 10 months, went to school there.
Yeah.
Quotation marks, because in reality, I pretty much traveled the country and stayed with an amazing host family. So that was a great time. And then I came back to Belgium, went to the film school in Brussels for 3 years. And then after those 3 years, the plan was to come to LA in 2008 for 1 year to study broadcasting at Santa Monica College and then go back. But I knew from the airport to where I was staying that I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sold immediately.
Really? Now, to go back a little bit, what's it like when you live with a host family? Because I think back to when I was that age and like you couldn't even pay me to go to somebody else's house for dinner when I was a kid. Like I was like, I always just wanted to be with my family and have the things I was used to. And I still am that way. So I think about that when you're a young kid and you're going to another country and you're joining somebody else's family. Like how scary was that? Or was it exciting for you?
It was scary, especially because it wasn't, I think, until the week before that I left that they finally found a host family for me. And I didn't speak any Spanish. So I had like one phone call saying like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And that was it.
Adios.
I know, adios. But yeah, it is scary. And you have to be lucky because I think through that program that year, we were with 10 Belgians who went to Costa Rica, and 5 out of the 10 had to switch family because it was just not a match. And so you have to be, and that's possible. And it's not no one's fault. Sometimes it's just not a match. But my family was really, really great. Like it was a perfect combination between having, family time and a welcoming family, but they also gave me the freedom to explore the country on my own or to go out or, while there were other Belgians. So like one Belgian, for example, he stayed in a family and it was like, okay, you do everything that the family does.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, so kind of like a boot camp. So that wasn't the case with my family. They're great. We're still in touch through social media, but I haven't been there since 2005. That's when I was there. So wow. I'm a little bit anxious as well to go back and to visit them, see how they've changed, how I have changed, and also the country. So, because it's been developed apparently the last couple of years a lot. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And so after that, and then you went to film school, did you always know you wanted to do documentaries, or was it just like happenstance that you started that?
My intention by going to the film school was to become a cameraman. Because growing up, I always was the one taking the pictures, filming the vacations with the home camera. Like whenever there were events at school, I was filming everything. Now everyone's filming everything with their phone, but back then there weren't phones. I was always there with my video camera. But by going to the film school, like I've always also loved basketball. And when I was at the film school during the weekends, I started doing an internship and working for a local television station covering the basketball games. That's how I started getting interested in broadcasting and journalism and sports journalism. Sometimes I also had to do reports on like the news. So that's, the nonfiction became more intriguing to me. And by going to the film school in your final year, you have the choice to do either a short film or a short documentary or a music video as your final project. But I thought, I'm at the film school. Of course, I'm going to do a short film. But in doing so, I realized that that's not what I want to do. That's not like, that just wasn't for me. I passed, I graduated, but, I realized pretty quickly that broadcasting, like the nonfiction, the journalism was more, what I wanted it to do.
Do you remember like the first documentary that you saw that you were like, whoa, this is what I want to do?
I think, again, going back to loving basketball, I think Hoop Dreams was an incredible documentary, especially because I think it was one of the first documentaries that also chronicled, lives for multiple years. They followed like young teenage boys from the suburbs of Chicago for many, many years until they graduated college because they were NBA prospects. So it was pretty cool to see, that road to playing high school basketball, college basketball, and also like the life off the court. And that's also kind of I've always been intrigued by the States, even though I picked to go to Costa Rica for 1 year. Like the States has always been in the back of my mind. I've always had an interest in that. And also, because of the basketball culture. The funny thing was when I came to LA and I joined Santa Monica College, I thought, I'm going to try out for the team. Now I can finally play college basketball. As I always thought in my dreams and, my own hoop dreams.
Yeah.
But then I show up at that tryout and I pretty much was the only white kid that was 6'1", and everyone else was like starting 6'5", black, fit. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. This is not like Belgium. So, I was immediately eliminated in that first round. But it was a great experience.
Oh no. Were you sad when you got eliminated?
No, the reality check was pretty good. No, I knew that I did not deserve to be on that team. So I was self-conscious enough.
That's so funny. I think I went to basketball camp when I was like in elementary school or something. And then I never grew another inch past then. So that dream was done for me too.
You're like, come on.
I know.
Come on.
Like somebody could just lift me up and I could dunk the ball in. That's so funny. So you had said though, like right when you got to LA, you knew you wanted to stay here. Like you were like sold. So what was it about LA that just had you sold?
A couple of reasons. I always tell people, I came to LA to study broadcasting. Mm-hmm. But the unofficial reason was also to come out because, like I kind of discovered that I was gay, like already in Belgium, but I never really developed or explored that part of my identity. Mm. And I felt like starting a new slate would be nice and helpful to do that. And I think that's why I kind of knew that this could be like a big new step in my life. And I'll never forget, leaving to Costa Rica, even though it was for a year, I was not emotional at the airport. While all the other Belgians were like crying and saying goodbye to their family, I kind of felt bad that I wasn't crying. But leaving to LA, I was emotional because I kind of knew like that was going to be, and I didn't know what to expect, but I kind of felt this is just going to be a new part of my life and it might be forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it ended up being that way too.
That's so beautiful. And did you feel growing up, like, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but were your parents supportive of it, or do you feel like you were not as sad to leave because they weren't as supportive as you would hope them to be?
No, my family has been very supportive. I do remember one time, forgot how old I was, probably like 16 or so. My mom was reading a book in the living room, and she claims she don't remember this story.
The attitude that just came out was amazing.
But so I asked her, so what are you reading? Oh, it's this story about this young boy, and he wants to come out, wink. And she winked at me, and I was like, ugh! And I froze. I turned red. I didn't know how to respond. I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. She said, yeah, it must be very, very hard not to tell anyone. Wink.
Oh, no.
And I didn't know how to respond. And I said, oh, okay, well, have fun reading that. And I ran out of the room. So I thought she always kind of knew.
Yeah.
But then when I ended up coming out to her, like 1 year after I was in LA, my whole family came to visit me out here. And that's when I kind of told them. And everyone's been super supportive. So I've definitely been blessed.
Yeah. And, what you had just said is kind of like the perfect segue into the documentary that you just finished of Tim Sullivan. And he had said in this documentary, I went to LA and I felt accepted. And like when he went to West Hollywood, he was like, oh, like a light bulb went on for him. And it's called Candles, correct? Is that the full title?
It's relighting candles.
Relighting candles.
Yes.
So you are the cinematographer on this, and it is an incredibly beautiful story. And I was so moved because when I see other people like turn their pain and what they've been through into ways to help other people, like that is just, and like why don't you explain it for people so that I don't butcher it?
Sure. No, yeah. I mean, you're nailing it. So, yeah, Tim Sullivan, he was born and raised in New York City in a Irish Catholic family. And he, went to the military and everything. And he always talks about he had to put up this second personality to be accepted. And he was never able to develop himself. And that led him into substance abuse. He was doing drugs and he was an alcoholic, and got to a point where he even woke up one day. I mean, maybe don't need to spoil the whole movie, but got to a point where he said, enough is enough. I need to explore this side of me, and he came to LA and became sober. And in doing so, he wanted to help other people. And that's, I'm not sober myself, but one thing that I've learned about other sober people is it's all about, helping the next person. Mm-hmm. And Tim Sullivan really took that to the next level. And he, due to circumstances, he opened a candle shop, and he decided to employ people who also struggle with addiction and homelessness. And especially in today's world where, I think I recently saw an article in the LA Times that homelessness went up by 80% over the last 8 years. It's definitely an issue that needs to be highlighted, and not just the issue, but also solutions. And to see someone like Tim take matters in his own hands and help person by person, it's incredible. And that's why, I made this film together with Zebariah Newman. He's the co-director on this. And he approached me about this idea, and I was immediately on board because it's such a powerful message that we all need and can learn from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't drink. I'm sober. I feel like it's been like maybe over 7 years. I wasn't like the type of person that was just like, I'm going to count my days in my anniversary. Like I didn't go to AA or anything, but I had the same feeling of like, if I don't change my life right now, I'm not going to have any sort of substance to it or happiness. And seeing how making these candles provides so much help for their mental health, for their sobriety, and for their friendships, like community, like just by making a candle and like inviting people to do something. And it's true. I mean, the second I am busy or like, with this show, it's like, I'm just trying to pass along forward, like ways to help other people and make people feel less alone. And I was so anxious before I started this interview, but like now just like connecting with somebody and learning about them, like when you do that and you are of service to others, then it takes you out of your own like mental hell, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like you said, and you can reach the whole world by the podcast. But if you get that one email or that one message from someone, you know what, I heard this and this really helped me. I think that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And that's incredible.
Now, when you are filming a documentary, how much are you involved with asking the questions and like because I know you've also produced documentaries too. So tell me what it's like when you're starting the production of one. Like, do you have your list of questions? Are you just like kind of filming it like a reality show where you're following them around? Like, how do you get from point A to point B?
It depends. And I usually have my questions prepared, but I also, you don't have to, I never tried to just stick to the script. It's always like, where does the conversation, is it leading to? Like probably today, like
right.
We have some questions, but you go as the conversation goes. Mm-hmm. And I always, interviews are super important, but I also love to follow people as something is happening. Like, I think that's why, I did a couple of documentaries, but what I loved about doing Game Face, my first documentary, I said, I want to make a documentary about professional and college athletes coming out as gay and transgender. But as they are coming out, not just like looking back, because that's that's also very important to hear those stories, but that's not what I wanted to do. And to see like that process of the coming out process and to capture those moments and to be there was very gratifying to witness and
to witness somebody's bravery and courage. It's very inspiring. And you're like, oh, okay, then I could do the hard thing too that I need to do. If this person can do it, like, okay.
Absolutely.
When you're filming a document, I just thought of this, like in your regular life, like daily life, when you're not filming, like I'm sure when you're filming a documentary, there are people where you can see kind of make themselves smaller or become like a different version of themselves, like more filtered because they're so aware of a camera's there. So do you have like a really good eye for that? And then when you're around like your group of friends or anything, can you see it?
Yeah, that reminds me of, for example, my second film, which was called That's Wild, where I followed a after school program who take inner city kids at risk from Atlanta into the outdoors to promote like outdoor experiences. And, these are all like young teenagers, or like some of them are starting at 8 years old. And at the beginning, when you show up with a camera, like everyone is like aware of the camera and in the camera. But that just takes time. And like after a while, like once they ignore you, that's when the magic starts. So sometimes it takes some time to warm up. And also with an interview, I usually start interview with like generic questions. Yeah. Because I know that it has to warm up. And then because some people it's for the first time and they are a little bit nervous. And once they're more comfortable, then I really get into the meat of the conversation or what I'm really looking for. So.
And you were saying when you're feeling like nervous or anxious or with your mental health, you watch documentaries, like nature documentaries and stuff like that, which is so interesting to me because those give me so much anxiety.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I get it. Like like, for example, when they're catching the prey.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not watching it. Like, I think there was one on Disney that my parents were watching and it was like seals. And I was like, I can't watch this. Like, what are you guys doing? No. Like, it's very hard for me. And I'm not like look, I love and respect Mother Nature, but being out in it is just not for me.
And that's fine.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want bugs. I don't like bugs. It's just, and for me, like, again, it would just give me anxiety to like not be home. I don't know. I'm so crazy, but what is it about watching those types of documentaries that like soothe you?
Well, one thing as well is like David Attenborough, the voiceover of
just the voice alone.
Just the voice alone. It just calms you. Like sometimes when I can't sleep, I just put it up on my phone and I look on YouTube if there's like a documentary that where he was the voiceover, and it's just when he speaks with his British voice and it's just so calming and so I don't need the Calm app. I just need David Attenborough in my life.
That is so amazing.
And then I calm down.
I love that because I'm like, does anybody else do this with friends? Because now I have this like setting on my TV where I put the timer on and then I black out the screen. So the screen is completely blacked out, but I still hear their voices. And I sleep so hard and like pass out instantly because it's like just something about them being there and hearing Rachel and Chandler and Phoebe and just like, oh, okay, I can relax. Like there's nothing to stress out about. They're right here, but it's like the light from the screen isn't bothering me, but it's hearing their voices that is so like, oh, okay, I'm not alone and everything's okay. Well, let me go to bed now. It's very calming. Yeah. So I love that. Yours is like the complete opposite of mine, but it still does the same thing.
Yeah. And it is for everyone. Like I also have a friend of mine's. He listens to ebooks to fall asleep, but he puts the speed at 50%.
Oh my gosh.
So they read the story like this. And that calms him down, and then he gets sleepy. I thought that was very funny.
That's so funny. I feel like that would scare me. Like I would have some really weird dreams if I heard somebody talking like, no, like that. I would have really crazy dreams from that.
Yeah. For me, it's nature documentaries. I love it. It calms me down. It's always, and also, when I'm stressed out or anything, that's another reason why I love Los Angeles. I just love to go on hikes, and it's, you have the mountains here around LA where no one's at, and it's just easy to ease my mind. And I'm not someone who needs to climb Mount Everest or put his life at risk. Just a day hike for a couple of hours is more than enough for me. But that does the trick. Like that's my safe haven.
Yeah. So when you are doing, like, you have done a lot of documentaries that have heavy subject matter, like Jamel and Tim, that was very heavy. Or, some of it is not extremely heavy, but like, the candles are, they're heavy, but it's a more uplifting story. It has a happy ending per se. But how do you keep your mental health and your spirit up when you're so enthralled in these people's stories?
That's a great question, especially with the Jamel and Tim. It was very hard because, I had to interview people who lost their best friend, and not just lost I mean, every death is of course horrific, but they were pretty much murdered in a gruesome way. And to have, to not just prepare for those interviews, but then doing those interviews for 4 hours. I always, I pretty quickly realized that I had to, after that, okay, you have to schedule like a day, just go to the beach or like do something fun to unwind, because it is mentally draining. And also, sure, there might be some common themes in all my films, but I also try to always do something different. Because, sometimes you just need something new to regroup and to recharge.
Right.
Those are some things.
Do you think that film had the biggest impact on you, like mentally? Or which documentary that you've done has had the biggest impact on you?
I think the first one, because the first one, it's always, prior to that, I was doing a lot of camera work and editing. And like I said, my family was very accepting of me, but like there was, I think around 2012, 2013, there was like this wave of suicides with young people committing suicide because they were gay or bullied because they were gay. And that's when I really wanted to do. And at that time, I also lost a friend who committed suicide. And I really got to a point like, okay, I want to make a, story to help awareness for LGBT stories, to show the human side. And, I love basketball. Sport is my passion. So let's tell a story about LGBT athletes. And, Michael Franklin very well. He's, my best friend. And he's the one who told me, like, Michael, you can film, you can edit, why don't you make a documentary about this? You can do this. And he really encouraged me to do this. And it took a long time to make that film, over 2 years.
Wow.
And so I think because it was so personal to me, I think that one had the most impact for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandably. And it's funny because that kind of ties into the Tim Sullivan one that I just watched, where he says at the end of it, since I followed my heart, it worked out. And I just loved that so much. Like, I thought that was so beautifully said. And, you followed your heart, you had this idea, you had the encouragement, and then it was the most meaningful thing that you've done, or one of the most meaningful things you've done. And it also opened all these doors for you to continue to do those kind of stories, which is really all that we can hope for, is just to continue doing what we love and following your heart.
Which isn't always easy and very scary to do so.
Yeah.
A lot of
And-
people are scared to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he had said in the beginning of this documentary what kind of candle he would be. And I was like, I need to ask Michael what kind of candle he would be.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I always love those. It might be very basic, but I always love those, just the pine candles, because it reminds me that I'm hiking, that I'm in a forest. Like I love those foresty candles.
Where mine would be lavender, so I could be like, I'm in a spa.
Yeah.
I feel like I would think that mine
too.
would be lavender, but then it's probably just like this overbearing peach vanilla that like.
And Tim, he gave me a candle, but I forgot what fragrance it was, but it was really, really good.
Yeah.
His candles are amazing.
And it was also so beautiful how he spoke about candles, where he was like, there are these things that they burn so bright and they last so long. Like he had all the significance behind a candle. And I've never thought of a candle like that before. I just think of it as this thing you light to make your apartment smell good, or like you blow it out on your birthday. But he had this whole like story and symbolism behind these candles, which was just so beautiful. Like you just really never know what in life can inspire you. Like there's inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, the candle shop was kind of the vessel of the film, but it was great that he used that vessel also as like a metaphor life. And it's like you said, everything that came out of his mouth was just like, that's a one-liner you can put on a calendar.
Or a candle.
Yeah, exactly. Or a candle.
So what was the first time, or when was the first time you saw yourself in a character?
That might have been, I mean, there's two movies that come to mind. Well, one movie and one show. One movie would be Hoop Dreams that we talked about, because I've always like had that ambition and dream to play basketball and to live that American dream. And, that was kind of what Hoop Dreams represented for me growing up. But then I would think, moving to Los Angeles, and like I said, I came here to explore my identity and start my coming out process. And literally at the time that I arrived here, there was this reality show on Logo called Shirts and Skins, where they followed a gay basketball team from San Francisco. And I was like, wait a minute, gay basketball? Does something like that exist? Because, to me, being gay and sports, like those two never, like I was able to combine those things. And that made me look up if there was a league like this out here in Los Angeles. And there was, and I joined that league, and those are still my best friends till this day. So, that's definitely a show. And like, some of the players that were in that show also weren't out yet, and they had to come out to their parents, and to see that and to see their camaraderie and still the love for the game and still the love for their family. That was something that I was really, really intrigued by. And it definitely changed my life. And the people from that show, they're my friends today. Like we play basketball.
Really?
So it's really cool. And at the beginning, it's like, oh my God, it's like the people from the show. And now it's like, those are my sisters. Yeah.
That's so cool. That makes me so happy for you. Cause I mean, I could imagine they had such a big impact on you. And then, there you are playing basketball with them. And it's also crazy though, because it's like, why is it they're gay basketball? Like, why can't everybody just play basketball together? And then like some people are gay, you know what I mean? Like there's Absolutely. A gay basketball league and then a straight basketball league. Like that sounds fucking insane.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I love playing basketball everywhere. At the same time, it is also nice to,
you feel safer, probably.
Well, for some people, like I said, my family was very accepting, but there are people who are getting kicked out their houses or kicked out of their community for being gay. And then, a league like that can be life-changing.
Right.
And so it is important for that aspect. And also it's fun.
I'd rather go to a gay basketball game than a straight basketball game.
We call each other girl this, girl that.
Yeah.
And
I'd go to that game.
And we go out for drinks and you have people, all the stereotypes are there. You have people who can't throw the ball and like, the most feminine guys, but you have also the most butch guys, like who play college basketball or even professional basketball. So it's all kind of levels, all peoples from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so cool. And we go out, we play tournaments all over the country and even in the world. There's also something called the Gay Games, like the Olympics.
This sounds amazing.
I know, and it's just a blast. And, and it's not like, I completely agree, in a perfect world, that even shouldn't exist. Everyone should just play with each other. But it is also fun that something like that does exist. And, I still play with straight people, or I just go to a regular gym and I play basketball with them.
Yeah.
Or when I go back to Belgium. So it's, but it's been great.
Are there any openly gay basketball players like in the NBA?
Not at the moment. There are 2 retired ones.
Okay.
And one guy, his name was John Amici.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a book when he came out, like in the early 2000s. And I read it when I was in college. And, that was also very inspiring to me. And I remember, because for a while he used to live in LA. And I remember at that time, remember MySpace?
Yeah. Do I remember MySpace?
Those good old days. He had a MySpace profile and I hit him up and I said, like, I just poured my heart out and I said, I'm coming to LA and I just, hope to discover this or like develop my identity. And he wrote a message back, like the sweetest message back. And that was so cool. And also the second player was Jason Collins, and he came out while he was still in the NBA at the moment when I was filming Game Face. And I reached out to him, to his publicists, because at that time also all the media jumped on that story. And the publicist said, sorry, like we just don't have time, which I completely get. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to probably run into him at the airport or something. And what happens, I promise you, I didn't stalk him. I run into him at the airport.
Work. You manifested that.
I sure did. And I walked up to him, and you know what? I also didn't want to make the mistake to be like, hey, Jason, can I use you for this or this?
Right.
I just wanted to be, I just introduced myself and I said, hey, I'm following this college basketball player who's coming out. I think it would be great for you guys just to connect and maybe you can give advice on your journey. And I left it at that. And they got connected. And eventually I asked the question, hey, would it be okay if you guys would meet for the first time in real life, and that I would film that for the documentary? And he agreed to do that. So that was great. So the 2 people who were, who came out in the NBA, I was able to connect with. That
is really, really cool. Like, yes. Truly to be since you followed your heart, it worked out.
We need to ask Tim to make a candle of that.
Honestly, I would buy it right now. If it says, since I followed my heart, it worked out, and had this like beautiful candle. Oh,
I love that. I'm going to suggest that.
Yeah. Tell him right now. It's so good.
Yeah.
So
with lavender scent, it has to be that.
Lavender scent, or like a rose or something, like a milk rose. I love those ones.
Okay.
Hell yeah, I'm getting a candle. So other shows that you had sent me that you said like inspired you or that you really loved were Lost. And then you said Titanic. Now, don't even give me, like, if we get started on Titanic, we're going to sit here for another 2 hours because I'm obsessed. That's my favorite movie of all time. But I realized, I'm like, wait, the scene that you sent me of Lost to watch with Charlie and Titanic, I'm like, is there like a fascination with the ocean for you, of like people getting lost at sea, or like what, or was that just a coincidence?
I did not make that connection.
I was like, oh my God, I have to watch 2 people drown. Like, yikers.
Maybe that is not a connection. Maybe this is a great therapy session and something is coming up here.
I mean, and spoiler alert for people who've never seen Lost. I've never seen Lost before. the concept, and it kind of goes back to when you were talking about like your host family. The concept of Lost gives me so much anxiety. Like, oh my God, I cannot breathe, because the thought of being that far away from my home and not being able to contact anybody that alone would kill me before I starve to death, because there's no, like, if they don't have a cereal or chicken tenders on a deserted island, like, I'm the first to go. But the scene that you sent me of Charlie, it was only like a 4-minute scene, and I was sitting there bawling my eyes out. I was like, no. And maybe because I loved him in Lord of the Rings, so I also felt like I had some connection to him already. But I was like, had I watched this show and been invested and then seen that, I think I probably would have had to like call out of work or something, because I was not okay after seeing that scene.
Yeah, and that was a season finale. I forgot which season, but to me that show had everything. And again, I think the fact that I love to explore and in nature, and the fact that they were stuck in an island that they had to explore. Yeah. To survive, I think that was already a great, here we go again with the word vessel, like a great setting. But then all these personalities were just so great and intriguing. And I connected to so many characters. And I think those two scenes that I sent, I don't want to say that I'm a romantic person.
But you kind of are.
But I guess maybe like in Titanic, it's such a beautiful love story.
It's the best love story.
But it's also heartbreaking. But then also in Lost, to see the relationship between Penny and Desmond, and they never give up to find each other. Mm-hmm. And then that one time they get connected over the phone. Like every time I watch that, I sometimes still look that scene up on YouTube to just watch it again. Yeah. I just love that scene. And maybe it's just a sucker of like that love like that exists. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And I think that, to me though, that show was one of the best ever. I mean, maybe the worst series finale ever, but the show itself was fantastic.
Yeah. And with Titanic, the love story is, I love when she says, he saved me every way a person can be saved. And that is just like, look, I'm not the type of person who needs saving, maybe in my 20s, but now I'm like, I got myself. It's cool. But the beauty in that of like the fact that this like whirlwind romance got Rose to like see who she finally was and that she was like worthy. It was just like the most beautiful thing ever. And he did absolutely everything he possibly could for her. And it was just like you said, it's that hopeless romantic. And I mean, there's nothing hotter than Leonardo DiCaprio in the 90s.
He was he definitely was.
My favorite shot of that whole movie, and that makes me cry every time, is when she's getting on the lifeboat and she looks up at Jack and the flare goes behind him, and they're looking at each other and they're like knowing like this is the last time we're ever going to see each other, because Jack knows he's not getting off that ship. And then of course she jumps off and runs to him. You're so stupid, Rose. Like, oh my God, makes me sob.
You sounded like him too. It's like you got it all down.
Oh, it's like, it's really annoying how I was just with Mickey at a pool party and I was falling off the raft. He's like, I need you to swim, Rose. I need you to swim. And it was like, we're just like quoting the whole movie and annoying the shit out of everybody else. Like there's not a single second I can't quote Titanic. It fits into everything.
And the music. Music was just so good in that movie. It's
haunting.
And I'm a sucker for soundtracks and music score. Mm-hmm. So, and that movie the music was just perfect.
Oh yeah. I remember when Celine Dion came out with My Heart Will Go On, the school talent show. I'll never forget. It was like 30 girls wanting to sing that song, but holding the lyrics, and it looked like a CVS receipt. Just like, because it was so long, and everybody's just like reading off of the thing, and it was just so funny.
I want to hear them when she goes high.
Oh, I know, right?
Started screaming.
Hear a bunch of 10-year-olds sing My Heart Will Go On. Now, Michael, when it comes to mental health, what is something that you struggle with the most?
I think sometimes I've gotten better at it, but to say no. to people. Sometimes I might be too much of a people pleaser because I'm not confrontational. And then, you have to deal with the consequences.
Right.
And I think that's something that I still need to work on. And that's been, my hardest struggle, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to feel like you're disappointing people if you tell them no. And I had trouble with that too, of being like, no, sorry, I don't want to. Or like, actually, I'm not okay with that. Like, I still get nervous to have those conversations in my 30s of like, hey, because you could be coming from one place and the person who's on the other end could, take it completely the wrong way, or like whether it be work or family, you're just kind of like, you feel like you can't be honest with them. And then you start to resent them and you're just like, it truly spirals out of control instead of just being like, you know what? No. And if they don't respect that, then like, that's their problem, not yours.
Yeah. As the great Tim Sullivan said, follow your heart. Yeah. Everything will work out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for me to also talk about my feelings or to really verbalize how I really feel. And I think that's also maybe sometimes where I struggle with that confrontation, because I am not able to, or shouldn't say I'm not able, but sometimes I don't do a good job of verbalizing my feelings. And that causes them to have different expectations and the confrontation about that. And that's something that I still need to work on.
Yeah. Are you in therapy?
Not right now. I used to, when I was going to college, because I have ADD. And I struggled with that in high school and throughout college. But I would say throughout high school, it was more so the struggle was to just the stereotype, paying attention in class. And I took they prescribed medication. But sure, then I was able to focus in class. But then afterwards, it just, then all that energy comes out. And yeah, at the social level, that was not the solution. Sure, my grades got better, and it's probably something that I needed at that time. But throughout college, when you really like your social year, or when you become more social and you go out for drinks, and I was having a harder time, and I started going to therapy. And also because I'm not very good in like loud spaces or bars or
me neither.
Or just group conversations. I'm a one-on-one person. This is fine. But if we do this with a whole group and I hear like a million people talk, it's so hard for me to focus. Yeah. And then I get frustrated with myself that I'm not getting involved and that I'm not present enough. And, those were the biggest thing that I took away from therapy at that time was like, it's okay to just sit back, take a couple of minutes, just be in your own mind and check back in.
Yeah.
And that has helped. That helps me to this day, because sometimes I'm in situations where my head is just about to explode and I just mentally, I check out for a second and then I come back and I can communicate. But when you force yourself and you're like, try to keep up with everyone and that social pressure, it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the biggest thing that I learned from that. It's fine to take a break.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that will help. I mean, that just like lit me up, because there are so many times where we beat ourselves up for feeling a certain way. Like, and it's like, the world is already beating us up. Why would I do it to myself? And I get, like you said, I get mad at myself. I'm like, Brittany, you have so much to be grateful for. You're being a little brat. Like, you need to stop. Why are you upset right now? Why do you feel this way? And I get mad at myself for every little thing. And I'm like, okay, this is not is this going to help me? No, this is not going to help me. I literally was just doing this last night. I was having I've been having really bad anxiety the last couple of days. And I was like kind of, I would guess, lonely yesterday, where I'm like, I didn't have a lot of people to like call on or go do anything with. And I just spent the majority of the day by myself. And I literally had to take myself outside of my brain. And I looked at my Facebook page from the outside and I looked at all the things that I've posted and I'm like, oh, okay, yes, I have a good life. Like I had to look at it objectively because being in it so much was literally making me go crazy. And like you forget, like you literally just forget all the good things in those moments when you're beating yourself up so much.
And what are some other moments, like, because you just mentioned, look at your Facebook and your post and see that life isn't too bad. Like, what else do you do when you have moments like that?
I mean, for me, it's again, getting outside of myself in any way that I can. So calling somebody, being completely honest with somebody of like how I'm really feeling, and having somebody go like, no, that's normal. Like I feel that way too. And like, just remember XYZ, because when you live inside the problem and in your head, it's just like feeding a monster, right? Like you're planting these seeds and they're growing and growing and growing. And until you have the wherewithal to just like get it out and speak to somebody else about it, then you're like, oh, okay. Like that's why, I'm such a big fan of therapy, because there's so many times where I feel like I've had a problem and I talk to her about it and she just asks a simple question and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's not that big of a problem, but the way that my brain was perceiving it was the problem. So that's why I asked if you were in therapy, because it kind of seems like, you have those same things going on sometimes. And I feel like there's less men in my life who are more willing to go to therapy. Mm-hmm.
But I think, I definitely think therapy is great. And I recommend it to people because it definitely helped me. And we all need that person to just let it out, because you can't just keep it to yourself. And sometimes it's also just, you let it out. And it's like you said, it's just one simple question that can sometimes just put things in perspective. Not even an answer, just asking the question that can put things in perspective. Yeah. So it's, I definitely recommend it to everyone.
Yeah. My therapist will be like, I'll say like, I feel worthless if I'm not making money or being productive. Like if I'm just relaxing, I'm like, I could be doing this back home in Las Vegas with my dogs. Like, why did I move here? And she'll just go, is that true? And I go, oh, no, it's not. I'm not worthless. Here's your money. Bye.
Yeah. But it's also, here's the thing. And at moments like that, we feel like, what's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. But then I've also come to realize like there's so many people going through this.
Yeah.
And then just to knowing like, oh, I'm not alone. Like other people are going through this, or this is human. That also comforts me. Maybe that's not immediately a solution, but knowing that it's okay with what I'm going through, certain feelings that I'm going through, is already comforting.
Now, what would you say is like the best piece of advice you've gotten for your mental health?
Pretty much like I just said. I think it's, first of all, that it's okay to feel a certain way. Like, yes, when you feel angry and frustrated, of course, we want to find ways to feel better. But it's also important to, if you feel angry and mad, let it out. Like be angry, be mad, like find an outlet to let that frustration out. You can't just suck it up. And so be okay with how you're feeling, but then also ask the question, okay, so what can we do to turn this around? And sometimes it can be a simple thing with like, you know what, tonight I ain't doing shit. I'm getting some cookies. I'm getting a pizza. I'm just going to turn on a movie and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just, what do we need? And not to be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah. It doesn't serve us at all to be hard on ourselves. And it's so true. And I think too, when you go through, to bring it back to Relighting Candles with Tim Sullivan, it was such a documentary that highlighted that literally everybody is going through something so hard that we don't know about. And like these people who it just creates more empathy when you're going through something incredibly hard and you are able to get onto the other side of it to then be there for others, because you're like, I've been there and I know what I needed. And like, sometimes people don't know what they need. in order to get out of things. So to be able to work through it all and be kind to yourself, like the second you really start doing that, you can then be there for others the way that they need you to be.
Absolutely. And that's all what that candle shop is all about. It's really like a safe place for people. You know, you have people who've been sober for more than 30 years and you have people who are still like relapsing. But the most important thing is that they are able to, you know, get to a circle of people and be surrounded by people who understand what they have been through and who can help them, you know, step by step to overcoming that. And and that support, like that circle of support is super, super important for everyone.
Yeah. And, you know, the sense of community, like you said, like for you going to play basketball and having that community, or these people going to work and making candles and having that community, like those are all like a safe place for you to feel your feelings and know that the people there see you and understand you. And that's very important to have.
Absolutely.
So tell people where they can see this really beautiful documentary that you did.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Relighting Candles is playing on Sunday, July 16th at 11 a.m. in the morning in a shorts block at Outfest. And the theater is going to be the DGA, so the Directors Guild of America Theater, Theater 1, that's on Sunset Boulevard. So this Sunday at 11.
Amazing. And after that, like, will they be able to purchase it anywhere or stream it anywhere?
Yes. So we are, we're going to do a couple of film festivals first. But in the meantime, we're also talking to distributors. And the great thing is that Melissa McCarthy and Ben Falcone came on board as executive producers.
Amazing.
On this project. So, you know, they're helping with their production company also to find distribution and a platform so that many people can see it beyond the film festivals. That's
really incredible. Well, Michael, I am so happy for you. I'm so grateful for the time that we've gotten to spend together today. It's been so fun getting to know you more. I mean, we know each other and we've always been around each other, but really hearing your story and how you are and what helps you has definitely just been such a treat for me. And I'm very happy I got to do this with you today.
And we'll go watch Titanic soon.
Oh my God, can we please? I was so sad that it was in theaters again and I didn't go see it.
Oh yeah, me neither. Yeah.
And also I have to say, like, your email to me was like, if everybody could do that, it was so amazing. Like, you were like, okay, here's this and the link and here's this and the link and this. And I was like, this is so organized. Like, I need you to come do that to my entire life.
Well, maybe it's because I'm currently working on a project and I'm working with another editor. So I'm giving her notes with references of style and with, you know, so that's why I'm like, this is what we need. And this is the reference. So that's I gave it to you. Like, so this is the answer and this is the reference.
What can you say what you're working on next or no?
No, I can't yet, but it's a documentary series for the first time.
Oh,
that's going to be for Vox Media.
Nice.
And I've been working on it for almost a year, and it should be finished the end of the summer. And I'm not sure when it's going to be released yet, but I'll definitely let you know.
What's the biggest difference in like the workload of a docuseries and a documentary like movie feature?
Well, in this case, it will be episodic of like 5 times 10 minutes.
Okay.
And 10 minutes is not a long time to really do a deep dive, especially when you're dealing with multiple characters. So that's currently a balancing act that we're, you know, navigating on how to really still go in depth in a story within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And also, you know, cover as much as possible. But it's a great challenge. It's going well, and it's a great opportunity. And it's something different. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
I was just thinking, I have like no doubt in my mind that you're going to win an award for a documentary, like an Oscar or something. I think it's going to happen.
Fingers crossed. I mean, it would be nice. But of course, I'm not going to lie, like being honored or awards are always, you know, great. But more so when you're an independent filmmaker because it gives opportunities for the future.
Right.
Because, for example, my first films were all like self-funded at first, or I had to find funding, and it's been really, really challenging and not easy, but it's been working out. And now, like this docuseries I got hired for, I got a budget. So it's like, it gives a nice breather. So I hope that, to keep stepping up so that I don't need to worry about some of the things that I had to worry about in the past. And awards help with that.
Yeah.
But it's all about, like being able to do this for a living. Like that's the blessing.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm coming up with more questions after I told you we were going to go. But also, if you can have, like, if there's one thing you could do a documentary on right now that you're super fascinated in, what would it be?
It's hard to say, but there's a couple of commonalities with my films, and it's always with an inspiring message, trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah. Some way,
somehow, there's always a basketball involved, even though like it might be a scene. I bring basketball or sports in it.
Yeah.
And nature, like even with sports, I bring in like an animal that might be outside of the gym.
That's so funny. I'm like, the closest thing I could think of that I've seen that would go along with like nature and animals and sports is Air Bud.
I've never seen that movie, but but yeah, it just has to be something that I care about.
Yeah.
Like where the heart goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't care, it's just too much work and education and energy that you put in it not to care.
Right.
So I think it's also, those are the commonalities, but at the end of the day, when I take on a project, it's also something that I feel the need to tell that story at that point of my life. So it's kind of hard to say like, this is what I want to tell. Like I'm currently finishing a project, and then we'll see like what my need or urge or opportunity will be to tell a story.
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing.
Well, thank you, Brittany.
You are welcome. This has been, it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating, and it's very beautiful and inspiring what you do, and like amplifying other people's voices and shining lights on things that not everybody knows about or people aren't aware of. And it's just really incredible. And it just like is very hopeful that there's like people in this world like you who like truly want to make it a better place.
Well, and I think it's great what you're doing, especially since the pandemic, when a lot of people literally lost their mind and are still lost at some point,
Yeah.
Great thing is that it did bring a lot of awareness to mental health, but there's still like a lot of people still don't know on how to deal with that, and if they should go to therapy and which therapist or
right.
So it is great that you're, shining a light on this and interviewing so many people, because I think it's by putting all these different stories and all these different conversations out that people will identify with certain people, and that will help them in their journey. So I salute you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, have so much fun tomorrow. I can't wait to see the pictures. I'm very excited for you. And this documentary is going to do so well. And I can't wait to get my Kindle.
Great. The lavender with the quote on it.
Exactly. All right, Michael.
Okay.
Have the best day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.